What's up, Bandheads? I hope you are enjoying the holiday season. Consider this your Christmas bonus. I had the chance to speak with Frank and Lakeisha Johnson, who are the founders of the HBCU Culture Legacy Foundation. Both of them march for the International Institution of Sound at Johnson C. Smith University, better known as the IIOS. And I got a chance to find out about their experience marching for Johnson C. Smith and how they established this organization to help give back to bands. There's going to be a Battle of the Bands over Martin Luther King weekend in Atlanta that they're running, and I'm really excited about it. I'm going to be there. And yeah, they do some really good work. And so I'm glad to share this interview with you all. I hope you all enjoy. Here is my interview with Frank and Lakeisha Johnson. Okay, everybody, I'm here with Frank and Lakeisha Johnson. They are the founders, creators of the HBCU Culture Legacy Foundation, and they both march for Johnson C. Smith University. And so I wanted to talk with them just to kind of find out their background and the HBCU Culture Legacy Foundation. They're going to tell us all about it. So how are you all doing, Frank and Lakeisha Johnson?
We're doing excellent.
Christy, doing good. Can't complain at all. Can't complain.
Good, good. I'm really glad to have y'all on here. I'm glad you all are on here because I wanted to help get the word out about the HBCU Culture Legacy Foundation because I know you all do a lot of good work. But first, I want to know about you all. So, where are you all from originally?
Absolutely. So yes, I am Frank Johnson, of course, the founder, and my wife Lakeisha Johnson, the co-founder. I am from a little small town right outside of Fayetteville, North Carolina, called Johnsonville, North Carolina, on the
Okay.
east coast of North Carolina.
And I am originally from Richmond, Virginia, born and raised as well.
Okay, cool. So you have that North Carolina and Virginia connection. Y'all sound like me. I went to school in North Carolina and I'm from Virginia. So
Exactly.
yeah. You all are the first couple that I've had on my podcast. I've only had,
Okay.
yes. And how long have y'all have been married? I'm just curious.
May 15th of next year will actually be 7 years. We've been married, 13 years we've been together.
Yep, together 13.
Mm-hmm.
Keisha had to get herself together.
That's good stuff. So what instruments did you all play? Or were you auxiliary? Tell me about what you all played in the band.
Sure. I actually was a dancer. I was the captain of Blue Satin Dance Team at Johnson C. Smith University in the International Institution of Sound, marching band from 2004 to 2008.
Okay. And how
Yep.
about you, Frank?
Absolutely. So I played percussion. I was a percussion section leader. More specifically, my main primary instrument was the quint, so multi-tenors. I'm a percussionist from 2001 to 2004 in the Funk Five Mob in the International the Sound JCSU.
And let me get my dates right. I came to Smith in 2004. I was a co-captain, I want to say my first semester sophomore year, which would have been later 2004. So, but I became captain 2005 season. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. So we got a dancer, we have percussion. So I want y'all to take it back to when you were younger. What was your first instrument? Lakeisha, did you play an instrument or you just danced, or how early did you get into dance?
Listen, I'm actually gonna tell you a funny story. Well, for starters, I've been a dancer all my life. Part self-taught, mostly, and then of course later in life, like when you get to like high school and stuff, actually had to apply and audition for in a performing arts school where I was accepted in high school. So I've been dancing all my life. But if you want to count instruments, you remember back in the day we was in elementary school and they used to give you the little recorder that looked like a clarinet, a little small. I'm just gonna say that was my quote unquote debut of a musician. That was short lived after the 4th grade, but on a serious note, I've been pretty much a dancer all my life.
Okay. How about you, Frank?
Well, I came out the womb playing drums. I literally got my first drum set at 4 years old because I was beating all over everything, laundry, baskets, pillows, anything, tearing up all the hangers from the cleaners, everything. So I've been playing drums since I was 4. Also played keys a little bit and things of that nature. But also I had going into 6th grade, actually, we had to play saxophone or another instrument before we could actually play percussion. So I had that a little bit of that background as well.
Okay, okay. So good. That's different things. And yes, the recorder absolutely counts,
Thank you so
Lakeisha.
much. Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah,
giving my
because I mean,
props.
yeah, because I'm a clarinet player, so like, just the movement,
Yeah,
that helps.
yeah.
There
Yeah,
you
so
go.
let's move on to high school. So how did you all first learn about Johnson C. Smith, or did you know about them earlier and their band program?
It's actually interesting enough, and I think this is probably why, in my opinion, why marching bands is such an awesome marketing tool for HBCUs, if you will. I learned about Johnson C. Smith. Actually, let me go back. I'm from Richmond, Virginia. So if you're from Richmond or anywhere in the Virginia area, especially if you are in band, because I was in band in high school, as a dancer in the band in high school. So it was expected, if you will, if you were in Richmond or anywhere in Virginia, you were going to go to Norfolk State. As a matter of fact, I am a proud graduate of Henrico High School. We were little mini Norfolk State, if you will, back in the day. So that was expected. But I actually learned about Johnson C. Smith, the university at large, through the band, seeing them at an exhibition, which was at my rival high school, Hollis Springs High School. Shout out to Mr. Thurman Hollins, who was my band director my senior year at Smith, who at that time was the band director at Holland Springs back in the day. But I actually saw the IIOS my sophomore year in high school. And it was, I can't even explain it. It was everything from, oh God, the musicianship, just energy, like the showmanship. It was very different to me in that time. It was my first time really seeing dancers dance the entire show for the most part. So after their field performance, it wasn't like they did their performance and they went to the side. Like they did the whole show nonstop. And I knew right then and there, like that's the school I wanted. Like the International Institution of Sound is what actually attracted me to Johnson C. Smith at large.
Well, there's an irony in that
Yep.
is
Mhm.
actually I think that was my freshman or sophomore
Yep.
year at Johnson C. Smith, and so I was actually in the band that day.
Mhm.
That she
Never knew that, but till later on, he was actually in the band during that time when I first saw Smith at that exhibition, only to later to become my husband. So
There you go.
Wow, that is cool. That's a cool story. I live for stuff like this because both of my parents march in the band. That's how they met. And so
Mhm.
I live for stuff like this. So
Yep.
Frank, tell me what made you want to go to Johnson C. Smith?
Well, growing up in North Carolina, so during that time, I would say 2001, 2001, I was making that decision. There was probably two bands in North Carolina that you were your top two, right? So that's North Carolina A&T, which I grew up on the east side of the state, was always, in Greensboro. So that was an option. And then two, Johnson C. Smith. I always wanted to live in Charlotte because I always wanted to be a corporate banker. And so, just the skyline of Charlotte drew my attention. Then you put that, with a phenomenal marching band, and that was my choice.
Okay, good. So you apply, you get in, both of you were in your respective high school bands, and you get to Johnson C. Smith. Now, I know you all started in different years.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I want you all to tell me about your first band camp experience.
Oh, I
Well,
got. I got to
go
go
ahead. So
first.
you go first. You
Well,
go first.
so number one, all right. So I was also an athlete in high school. So I played basketball, ran track for a little bit, and when I got to Johnson C. Smith at band camp, I realized that this is more strenuous than the first week of basketball tryouts because in that 2001 era, it was crazy. I'm talking about you getting up at 4:30 in the morning,
Mhm.
right? You're getting out of rehearsal at 10:30, 11 o'clock. Then I was a percussionist. So our sectionals ran to probably 12:30, 1 o'clock to only have to get up at 4:30 in the morning. And it's physical activity the whole time. I mean, just the discipline that came with it. I'm not gonna lie. The first day I got to band camp, I almost called home and said, "They crazy. They are actually crazy." But the winner in me wouldn't let me quit. So that was my first experience.
Okay.
I would say sort of the same. I think I came from Henrico, we were a show style band as well. So we were high. So I was so accustomed to that. So that wasn't new for me. The practice wasn't that new to me, but the level of practice was very new to me. There's this thing, I remember, matter of fact, my very first day, someone had did something and we were all told to, get in push-up position. And I'm thinking that, oh, okay, surely I can go, inside or go in the grassy area. We were all outside and they were like, no, you get in push-up position where you are, which at that time we were preparing to do our march around the school. So we were on concrete. And I was like, right here?
Mhm.
And it was like, yeah, that's like, what you mean? You think it's so different because you're a girl? But it was at that point where I really started understanding the importance of operating as one unit, and taking the I out of team, if you will. And that thing, I know it sounds so cliche, but that whole thing where they say one band, one sound, it's not just for musicians. It's if you from auxiliary all the way to the last person marching in the band, like you could have 50 people in the band, you could have 400 need to look like one person. And so if nothing else, while it was crazy on that first day, it definitely was a great appreciation for what it taught me, both personally and professionally as well.
Okay. So when did you meet? Your freshman year?
I actually, we met at this point, it's my sophomore year for me. Actually, it was actually my senior year. So it was my senior year, first semester, my senior year. So this was 2007. And so it was homecoming and everything. And you know how it is for homecoming, especially in your band, you're getting prepared for a homecoming game. So you're definitely at practice all night long. And I was looking a hot mess. Like when I say a hot, I'm sweating, I'm like looking crazy or what have you. And you know how people who, if you were once in the band or alumni or whatever, they come back and they check things out and sometimes they participate as well or whatever. And I think we were on like a break or water break or something like that. So a lot of the previous band members, were just coming around speaking to us, current students at the time. And Frank actually walked up to me. It was not, hey, it wasn't how you doing. It wasn't what's your name. It wasn't where you're from. It literally was, what do you plan on doing in 5 years? And I was like, I was so taken back. And I was like, 5 years? Like, bro, I hope I graduate next semester. Like, what you talking about? And so it took me back. And Frank is a very frank person, if you will. He is his name for sure. He knows what he wants and things like that, which is strange because I never saw him again after that. I even had this thing like, who we think he is coming up to me like this. So I never saw him again. And then it was like a year and some change later. At this point, I had graduated Smith. I was still living in Charlotte, and I think I was looking for a church home at the time. And one of my friends who I danced with at Smith, she invited me to my church, or to her church at the time. And who's playing on the drums at the church? This guy. And so in real talk, I will admit this. I am not ashamed to admit this. This is when Facebook was kind of fresh, new sort of. And I found him like a stalker. On Facebook. And I reached out to him and I was like, hey, you probably don't remember me. I met you, a while ago while I was still at Smith, but I was invited to your church. I noticed you're at church today. Enjoyed it. Have a great day. Like I wasn't really expecting, honestly, no response because I didn't even think he remembered me. And like 2 minutes later, he sent me a message back and he was like, yeah, he's like, I noticed you when you walked in the church. So. And that was 2009. Yeah. And we've been together ever since.
So there was a crazy overlap there, and that was a great story. But the reason why there's such an overlap is actually going to segue a little bit in why we do what we do. Mm-hmm. Christy, we in 2004 spring semester, Keisha came in fall 2004. Mm-hmm. Spring semester was my last semester at John C. Smith at the time. I dropped out of school going into my senior year. My father got sick and eventually passed with some complications. So I made the judgment call to go to work and start a business and all that stuff to supplement some of that income for my family. So that's what I did. And so that's honestly, we missed each other by a semester because I dropped out of school, only to come back. What was that? How many years later? 3, 4 years?
Yeah,
3, and then reconnect at that point. But I'm actually glad, because at that point she probably wouldn't have liked me. I wasn't a kind person, during that time. So, that's how we kind of got there.
Yeah.
Well, y'all, this is this is a really good story. Oh, this is funny because I always, this is like I said, y'all are the first couple I've had, and so I wanted to hear both of y'all's perspective on how you met.
What she forgot to mention is I did see her out one night, and you would have thought that she almost jumped into my arms when she saw me.
Oh my gosh! Oh my goodness!
Christy, it was wild.
Christy!
Man. I was like, "What's going on here?" I didn't know.
Oh my gosh!
Y'all are funny.
I didn't know what was going on.
But that 5-year question, you just walk up to somebody, it's like, "What are you doing in 5 years?"
Who asked that? Like, not even like, hey, how you doing? My name is Frank. May I get your name, or can I get your name? He's literally like, what's your plan in 5 years? I'm like, what? Who asked that?
You got to think, by that time I have been out of the college circuit for 3, 4 years at that point.
You were already in professional.
Yeah, I was already in a professional career. So just my mindset was different in regards to relationships. It wasn't looking for fun. I was looking for a companion.
Okay. So Frank, I know that you said you wanted to start a business. And
Yes.
What did both of you all study while you were at Smith?
Sure. I actually was supposed to be a cop, strangely, believe it or not. And it's so funny, Chrissy, I am 4'11". I don't know what was going on in my mind. But no, I study, actually, my degree is in social science. I'm always, which is very interesting, I'm always interested in how people think and their behavior. And then I had a background in that and criminal justice as well. So I actually desired to be a cop. I was actually 2 steps from being a cop for Rock Hill Police Department, which is right across the border. Rock Hill is like next door to Charlotte, if you will. I was the only female who made it. I was in a fast track program. I was actually still at Smith. I was in my final semester at Smith when I was going through the fast track program. Was the only Black female in my class. Passed the physical, passed the knowledge, passed the board test, only for them to send me a letter saying essentially, thank you, but you don't fit our criteria. Now, what that criteria is, I don't know. But when I look at where my life is today, even though, no, I'm not a cop, but I'm still in the business of people and serving people through our organization. So,
I don't know. You might still be a cop.
I might be. Because my investigative skills now, top notch. No,
okay.
You still got it.
I'm messing, but that was actually what I studied at.
Okay, so let's get into this HBCU Culture Legacy Foundation. So tell me what the order of things were. So you finished school, and then you got married, and then you started the business together, or had the business already started?
Yeah, so we actually started the business when we actually first started dating. It's 13 years ago now.
Yeah.
Right.
Our for-profit business is Kingdom Plug, which is an events branding and marketing firm that we started October 29, 2009, right there in Charlotte. We actually started hosting networking events. That's how we got into like the event space at large. And we were our very first event, we had like 40 people. 39 was from our church. We were so pumped because we had people to come. So our background is in events branding and marketing. And we started, fast forward, the nonprofit arm, which is HBCU Culture Legacy Foundation, from Frank's personal story, as he just shared with you. We started that in 2018. Matter of fact, our very first HBCU culture event was on the campus at Johnson C. Smith University. Yes.
Well, let me just say this. So for the band heads who are listening, these folks put together the HBCU Culture Battle of Bands, and I went to the first one. I think, how many of y'all have done so far? 2 or 3?
Since 2018, we are now
event 8 or 9.
Yeah,
because we do multiple events a year.
Yeah,
so we're on event 8 or 9 at this point.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, my first HBCU culture event was in November, the Battle of the Bands in Charlotte, and I've been to a lot of battles of the bands, and some were better than others, but I have to say that this is definitely a bandhead event. Like the way that it's run very well. It's not a whole bunch of red tape. It's not a whole lot of waiting. It's run very well, and it's a good battle. It is. I can tell. You can just tell when an event is done by the band community versus not.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
I've been doing this for a while, and
Yeah.
you can just tell.
Right.
Hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
that's intentional, Christy. I mean, at the end of the day, our background is, another part of what we've done in the past is we've promoted concerts
Hmm.
and I've performed with artists and Keisha has danced professionally. So we've
Hmm.
seen production from so many different angles. So we
Hmm.
try to bring that into into the Battle of the Bands, from a production standpoint, from lighting, but also just making sure that it's entertaining for people who enjoy HBCU or show style band. That's a top priority
Hmm.
for us. And I think, that's one thing that will always separate us from, any other event, to be honest.
And I would say too, to your point, Christy, you made a very valid point, and even kind of aligning with what Frank just said. From a production point, we have that, but one of the things we always consider that in our audience, there are always two people. There are two types of people. Excuse me. There's the person that comes from this band world. So we love to make sure that our show cater to them, and we show the appreciation and the art, if you will, of the art form of our band world, or especially our HBCU band world at large. But then there's a person in your audience, black, white, or a different, whether you went to a HBCU or not, that really surprisingly they don't know about HBCU band style. They don't know show style, or they've never experienced that in a live experience, if you will. You may have seen it on, Drumline the movie, or you may have seen it on some type of movie of the like. However, experiencing, especially the type of event that we host, we're very intentional with really highlighting the art in itself. And I don't think people really see it, the art and the sport, if you ask me, because I do believe band students are scholars, and they are definitely athletes, especially the work they have to put in, what you even have to do to create a show for most part 9 minutes and 30 seconds or 10 minutes. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a lot. It's a lot to have 100 plus, 200 plus, 300 plus students playing and marching and making formations and intros, outros, all at the same time. Dance routines. It's a lot.
I
And
mean,
so
it's real
it's real
also
entertainment.
also entertainers,
and,
right?
and they're also entertainers. So
Yeah.
not only are they students, they're students and scholars first. You're athletes, you're entertainers,
Your musician.
you're musicians, you're dancers, you're auxiliary. It's a lot that goes into that. And so it's very important to us to really highlight what these students do, the strength that they have, the professionalism that they have, and we know firsthand because we walked in their shoes, literally.
Yeah.
So it's just our way to not only pay homage, but to really put these students on a platform to highlight the hard work that they put in, just to not even just to entertain, but really let the world know the importance and why HBCU culture matters.
Well, I could just tell in the details that y'all have this event that is for us, by us.
It
But
is. It
you know what
is.
I'm saying?
It
Like
is.
I can tell. I've been to a lot of these events, and I know. So two things I want to talk about. I want to talk about, the purpose of your foundation. And then I also want to talk about the event that's coming up on January, the weekend of Martin Luther King weekend,
Yeah.
that I will be attending. I'm very excited about it. So,
Can't wait to see
yes,
you.
yes. So tell me about the HBCU Culture Legacy Foundation and what it does, like the purpose of it.
Yeah. So, like I said earlier, the foundation of the foundation at large is we built it based upon my story. Simply, we don't want any HBCU band student to go through and have to make the decision that I made based upon a lack of resources. So for us, this is bigger than marching band. This is bigger than the Battle of the Bands, right? The Battle of the Bands is just a celebration for us,
Yeah.
right? And we're gonna have a good time.
Yeah.
But really, the main thing is to leverage these events to get people's attention why it's important to invest in our HBCUs. One thing that we do know is It's going to take a lot for us to make sure we sustain our HBCUs.
Yeah.
And so we feel that this is our calling to be that vehicles to sustain our HBCUs.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was actually going to add too, Christy, if you don't mind, to Frank's point, and I think that's the biggest thing. I think a lot of people, and this is just I guess an attest, our team, Frank's whole vision, especially in reference to our marketing. I think people see the Battle of the Bands and they're like, oh man, so excited about the Battle of the Bands, which is, I really appreciate even having this moment with you today. And really, allowing our fellow band lovers, HBCU band lovers, and followers to even know, it's way bigger than the Battle of the Bands. You'd be amazed how many people will be like, well, how come they didn't invite such and such band, or, they didn't invite, I don't see this band or whatever. And we understand, how we are. We're, you want to see your band, you want to see your school. And there's a lot that comes into selecting bands. And not even that, I don't think people, I was going to say, people don't even consider things like some bands, it's just their schedule honestly does not permit. Some schools, believe it or not, are still have some sort of restrictions due to COVID from 2 years ago, believe it or not. So there's so much limited, and some schools are still on limited traveling. So there's so much to go on. I can assure you, it's not that we don't want to bring your band. Trust me, we will. But we're very intentional about giving all bands, whether you are one that doesn't get as much as exposure. We're very intentional about making sure all bands get the exposure, big, large, or indifferent. But at the same time, our purpose is to really be a resource to all HBCU institutions at large. To date, I don't know if we shared with you so far, since starting this nonprofit organization in 2018, as of November 6, 2022, we have surpassed our phase 1 goal of $1 million, and we've actually provided $1.9 million from this organization through scholarships and educational experiences. So what that means is each band that we invite and select to participate with us, not only do they receive a scholarship to support their band program, they do not pay for travel. They do not pay for lodging if it's applicable, depending on where they're coming from. They do not pay for meals at all. This is just our way to support their band program, because we know firsthand, as previous students ourselves, we know the resources in band programs are limited. We even know right now there's a lot of schools that don't even, like in your middle school and high school level leading up to college, are cutting those programs. They're cutting performing arts or music at large. So you already know how that impacts marching bands, right? So for us, it's so much bigger. To Frank's point, it's so much bigger than the Battle of the Bands that you see. For us, we are here to be a direct resource, one, to kind of, I guess, transition, if you will, into what's going on at our upcoming event on Martin Luther King weekend in Atlanta. Yeah. So January 13th through the 15th, we're going to be here in Atlanta. We are kicking off that amazing weekend with our Founders Gala on January 13th at a beautiful venue called Ventanas. And that's from 6:30 to 10:30 on Friday. And we actually have Dr. Kevin James, who's the president of Morris Brown, who is our event chair. And we will also be highlighting and honoring our 2023 HBCU Culture honorees, who is Dr. and Pastor Jamal Bryant of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church here in Atlanta, who is a graduate from Morehouse College. And then we'll also be honoring Miss Kimmy Mackey. She is the Chief People Officer of Diversity and Inclusion for the Atlanta Hawks, who is a graduate from Howard University. So we're going to be doing that. And then on Saturday, on January 14th, we will be on the campus of Morris Brown College from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. with our HBCU Culture Homecoming Fest. And we're going to have everything, Christy, from live performances, food trucks, vendors.
Hold on. We also are going to be supporting who? Clark and Morehouse.
I was going to say that. Yeah. So including in that live performances, food trucks, vendors, college and career fair, we're actually going to be having live performances from Clark Atlanta, as well as Morehouse College, who we'll also be supporting their band programs as well with a scholarship for both of those band programs. And the one thing that I am excited about that Fan Fest as well, at that college and career fair, which will be on site, And this Fan Fest is actually a part of your ticket that you get for the Battle of the Bands the next day. But parents and students will be able to apply to however many HBCUs as they wish, as application fees will be waived. And we know, Christy, that those fees can add up. So it's just our way to support parents and students, but also our way to help high school students to learn more about HBCU institutions and get enrolled. And then lastly, on our big finale on
Fan Fest, we also have 8 high schools that are performing
as well.
So these are high schools from as far as Louisiana, South Carolina, Alabama, and then we have 4 Metro Atlanta high schools. So this is a big HBCU band weekend that we've really put together, and it's also to build that stage out for these high schools as well. We wanted to give them a separate time to shine, so that's why we put this Fan Fest on a separate day.
And then lastly, our grand finale, of course, is the HBCU Culture Battle of the Bands, where we have Southern, we have Talladega, we have Alabama State, we have Miles College, we have Alabama A&M, and we have Jackson State University that will be performing at State Farm Arena. We are so excited and honored, especially with this not only being on Martin Luther King weekend. We are the first Black couple, first Black-owned organization to host a Battle of the Bands event at State Farm Arena of this magnitude on Martin Luther King weekend. It is truly humbling, and we are very, very excited and have surprises that will take place at that show, and we can't wait. We're excited.
Well, you know what, y'all got me so hyped. Like, this is gonna be such a blackety black weekend. I'm so
I love it.
I'm so looking forward to it. Like, so I'm getting a suite for Battle of the Bands. Like, it's already been reserved. And so I'm just looking for a few more people to come on and join in. And, you know, it's for the band heads, for the, you know, pretty hardcore, you know how we do. So I'm so excited about that weekend. I'm definitely going to be at the Fan Fest and the battle. And I wish you all the best luck. And I just want to kind of end with this. I'd like to know, what is it that you use in your everyday life or you take with you? What is one thing you've taken away by being in Johnson C. Smith's marching band?
So we used to have this saying called discipline, right? And the just of discipline, right? It was a chant that we had. And it said, we are the discipline because we are the best. We are the discipline, unlike the rest. You against me will be no contest. Woo. Right? So that was one of those things that I took away. Like, even in our life right now, we're getting up 4:30 to 5 o'clock. We're doing devotion. We're hitting the gym. We're giving to ourselves. We're getting the empowerment in. And then we come home and get breakfast and get things settled for the house. Then we get to the work. Right. So, you know, what that band experience taught me was to beat the next man to the spot. So that is always our approach. We're just going to get there before you get there. And when we get there, we're going to give it our best. And that's all we can do. After we give our best, we'll sit back, we'll look at the tape, we'll evaluate, we'll come back, and we'll get better the next time. So I think that's something that has really played into our life.
Yeah, and I could not agree. I could not agree more. Being in the band at Johnson C. Smith is actually play a huge role in who we are and why we are the way we are, not just personally but professionals. You know what I mean. We not only both went to a HBCU and marched in the band. Our very organization is to support HBCU bands. But the one thing, if nothing, as Frank said, that mantra, if you will, about discipline. A lot of times we want to control exterior factors, but have no control on self. And discipline starts with self. If you can do the basic things like, you know, we just talked about Christy. We used to get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning in the band. So it's not new to you now as an adult, right? The early bird gets the worm. And here's the thing. Somebody might have more talent than you. Somebody might have more skills than you. But see, when your work ethic is your work ethic, you might get there, but your work ethic and your professionalism, will keep you there. And so one of the things that we attribute to that is just working as a team, having that discipline, having structure. which is very important to us. We have a mindset of there are no excuses. There's ways to bring solutions to everything. And to some people that seems like, oh, it's impossible, or it's crazy, or that's too much. But you know what? The best don't become the best being mediocre, right? And so that's what the band taught us, to always be your best, always give your best, and by doing so, you will always have the best results. So.
Oh, wow. That's an awesome way to end. I'm so glad to have y'all on here, Frank and Lakeisha Johnson. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Christy. And if we can pull a little plug, we would love for your followers to follow us on IG at HBCU Culture, on Facebook at HBCU Culture Legacy Foundation. And for tickets, because we get this question a lot, what's going on this weekend? How can I get tickets? Or even if people just want to know, hey, what goal do you have, which is our $10 million goal to provide funding and scholarships to support band programs, athletics, and even institutions at large. For people who are just interested in making donations, they can do that and all of that and find out details at hbcuculture.com.
You have listened to the HBCU Band Experience with Christy Walker. Interviews and editing conducted by yours truly, Dr. Christy Walker. The music is District 4 by Kevin MacLeod, and you can find this podcast on hbcubandexperience.podbean.com. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts. Take care.